One of the more interesting things about the evolution of online media, specifically on platforms like YouTube, is you not only get a sense of the news, the story, and what the facts are in relation to that story, but through the presenter, who's often an opinion-based presenter, you tend to get a slice of their perspective in every single story. You tend to learn about what they care about, what are their principles, but more importantly, you tend to learn when the person presenting the news has a complete and total lack of principles based on how they cover two different stories that conflict deeply with what they care about. A perfect example of a news agency with a complete lack of principles is the Young Turks, which is why I featured them on this channel multiple times in the past, and it's why I'm going to feature them on this channel today. Because I have two different videos from the Young Turks from less than a week apart on how they cover certain stories in relation to the Black Lives Matter riots. Now, the first one has to do with the CHAZ zone, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone or Capitol Hill Occupy protest, and how they covered the shutdown of that protest, which was due to the violence of that protest. And I juxtaposed that to how they cover some instances of people in their cars hitting people. Now, we're going to go over both of these videos. I'm going to go over in detail the events of the stories of both of these videos. But due to the fact that YouTube has an insane terms of service agreement that's ununderstandable to any human reviewing it, I can't show you clips or videos or anything that has to do with any kind of violence whatsoever in this video. So we're going to have a real conversation. I'm going to show you some video clips, but none of these clips will contain any violence, and that's because I can't even blur the violence, if you remember when I talked about this in my previous video, because YouTube considers blurred violence absurdly blurred nudity, even though I would never show nudity on this channel in any way, shape, or form. So we're going to have a serious conversation. I'm going to expose the complete and utter hypocrisy between these two Young Turks videos. But it's important to note that the reason you're not going to be seeing these clips, and the reason I'm going to be linking to very trusted news sources in the description box of this video so you can watch them in their full context, is due to YouTube's terms of service. Also, it's important to note that in terms of criticizing the Young Turks on this platform consistently and in a detailed manner, I am completely alone in that regard on this platform since the deletion of Devin Tracy's channel, Atheism is Unstoppable, and all of his other channels that were his backups in case YouTube decided to arbitrarily delete his channel. However, I have good news. Devin has recently inked a deal with Censor TV, and he will now be posting his videos on that platform going forward. And I have even better news. If you sign up for Censor TV and you use the promo code AIU, then you can get 20% off, and you will know for certain that your sign-up subscription will go directly to Devin Tracy. He will get a slice of that, and you will be able to help this man who is currently still stuck in Rio de Janeiro, and he's been stuck there prior to and during the deletion of his channel for no good reason.
At Censor TV, you will have access to me in HD, unfiltered, and able to speak my mind and create in a way that I've never before been able to. When you sign up, you not only get all of the videos I'm going to make, which is a lot, you're going to get Gavin McInnes. That is a great deal. That's a no-brainer. You get other people though too. You're getting Milo. You're getting Coppercap. You're getting that little teenager, Soph. They got a show featuring Chris Hansen looking at you, looking at Soph. You sign up, but, and oh my god, this is the most critical thing ever. You must put in the coupon code AIU. If you don't put in the coupon code AIU, I will get no money for that. And that would be a travesty. Now, you could do AIU in caps, you could do AIU lowercase. The choice is yours. But you pop over here, it's $10 a month, the greatest deal in the history of time. Based on the content and the quality that you're getting, oh lord, that is a steal. That's a shocking number.
So if you want to see another content creator that does detailed videos showing you the hypocrisy of the Young Turks and the lies and the misrepresentations of the Young Turks, go to the link in the description to Censor TV and make sure you use promo code AIU. It will get you 20% off, and that is the only way currently that you can support Devin with your Censor TV subscription. And the 20% off, by the way, not only works on the monthly subscription, but it also works on the annual subscription, which is the one that I opted for because you have to go out and support the content creators that are currently being deplatformed when we're in the purge. This could happen to me at any point in time. So I would like to know, through your support of this other content creator, that if this were to happen to me, that I would have some safety valve, some level of support going forward on another platform, if that is the way that things need to go. But now that we got all that out of the way, all that housekeeping is done, we're gonna start with the Young Turks video on the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or CHAZ, whatever you want to call this thing. We're going to talk about the Young Turks and their response to the Seattle police finally deciding to shut this thing down.
Police in Seattle have cleared the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone in Seattle, which is also known as the CHOP Zone, which stands for Capitol Hill Organized Protest. Now, the decision was made to clear the area following the fourth shooting that took place in the vicinity of this demonstration or this protest.
We're already made a mistake on the Young Turks' behalf. The Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone was not being shut down due to the insane levels of violence in the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. The reason that this zone was actually shut down is because the protesters decided that they were going to start occupying the mayor's house. As soon as the mayor heard that, all of a sudden, what she previously called the Summer of Love was no longer the love. She didn't want the love spread to her home. And that's why she actually shut it down. It actually had nothing to do with the horrific levels of violence that we saw during this crazy illegal protest.
And I say that because the shootings happened either at the border of the protest or near the protest. And as a result, that allowed for the mayor to make the case that the area needs to be cleared out because it's dangerous. I want to be clear about something right now. The shootings are mysteries in a lot of ways. These stories are developing, and I am not going to pretend to know what happened during each of these shootings. We don't know.
The level of brazenness in this lie by Anna Kasparian is absolutely stunning. She's talking about the violence of the protest, the violence which is a direct result of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. It's indisputable that this violence would not have occurred if not for the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, and she's trying to play it off like it has nothing to do, like it was just coincidentally near the border of this zone. The border that was barricaded off illegally by these rioters that all this violence seems to be centered around. Like, obviously, if it's a contested point where people are armed and contesting that point illegally, then maybe a lot of the violence will be closer to that area. But Anna's trying to pretend that this is just normal downtown Seattle. This is just what happened, and it was coincidentally just right there. She's of course ignoring all the other violent instances that didn't lead to somebody dying, that didn't lead to somebody being shot. But she's like, look, it's just in the border. It doesn't even count. Like, how do we even know that has anything to do with that? Downtown Seattle was probably already a war zone before these rioters came and occupied this territory illegally, destroyed and vandalized all these businesses, were caught on video multiple times, time after time, attacking people within the zone, and vandalized everything. It's probably honestly like just normal downtown Seattle thing. The police precinct being basically abandoned due to these armed rioters probably had nothing to do with what was going on here. The mayor, honestly, is just making the case because she's an evil right-wing mayor. She's a bad person. I mean, she's left-wing mayor, and she excused these riots, and she was making fun of Trump for pointing out the danger of these riots just a couple of weeks ago, but probably evil, secret, racist right-winger. Am I right? Come on, guys.
Based on the reporting that I've seen, none of the reporters who have reported on this locally know what happened. So I think it's important to say that, because anyone who has any type of definitive statement or decisive statement on this is absolutely full of crap.
I love this. When it's a left-wing situation, it's we don't know anything. Anybody who has something definitive to say about the killing of a 16-year-old boy at this illegal riot protest that occupied territory in downtown Seattle doesn't know what they're talking about. Totally crazy. Except for the fact that there's surveillance video of this instance, and you can see people, the security of CHAZ, opening fire into a random SUV, which, according to other reporting, didn't even match the same color as the other SUV that these people were supposedly looking for. Could you imagine, just for a split second, that this was a police situation? That the police got a call about a silver SUV, and they decided to target a white SUV, and rather than finding a suspect, somebody who actually presented a danger to somebody, they fired ridiculously and an insane volley onto a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old, killing the 16-year-old and leaving the 14-year-old in critical. There's also video, again, from the surveillance video that nobody could possibly know exists, of somebody being recorded saying, hey, you still alive yet, before shooting the 16-year-old to death. But we don't know what happened. We honestly, we can't even figure out what's going on. What, like, was this maybe the right wing somehow? The right wing CHAZ security something? Anna, you don't know anything?
A 16-year-old boy was unfortunately shot and killed, and a 14-year-old was injured in the shooting. So how did this all happen? And as the vehicle was approaching the barricade, people in the chop zone who saw the car as a threat opened fire. There are some reports indicating that someone had actually started the shooting from the Jeep.
I love how Anna, even though it's obvious she's just trying to push her own political agenda, is still stumbling through covering this. There's like a part of Anna Kasparian that is going over the details of this, that knows that what she's doing is insanely immoral, insanely hypocritical, and definitely wrong. She's like, oh, we don't know anything. The CHOP security, who are totally a legitimate law enforcement body, open fired into the vehicle. We don't know what the reason was. Maybe the 16-year-old and the 14-year-old initiated the violence somewhere else, because, you know, that's not on the surveillance cameras. That's not in any of the footage. But we don't know. And I would totally, being Anna Kasparian, would give this same benefit of the doubt to any police officer in a similar situation, or even a situation where the police officer was obviously in the right. This is complete and total nonsense. And by the way, one of the reasons why it's actually hard forensically to piece together the information around this killing is because the CHOP people, the supposedly legitimate law enforcement of this breakaway nation, rummaged through the crime scene. They basically obliterated any trace evidence that the police would normally use in order to bring the killer to justice. So not only did they force the police out and then create a situation that is infinitely more violent and has an infinitely higher chance of violence than had the police been in the precinct that they are legitimately supposed to be in, but they also destroyed evidence that would lead to this person being brought to justice for the crime that they committed. Now, the other case that they cover is the case of Lorenzo Anderson Jr. actually, and you might know this case because the father of this kid actually appeared on Sean Hannity. Now, the Young Turks, of course, don't show any of the information about the father and don't show his words and his calls for justice.
Man, these are kids, man. They should have been stopped this a long time ago. It's starting to get, excuse me, but it's getting to a point, you know, where, you know, it's getting.
Gotcha.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Mr. Anderson.
Because showing that video would make the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone and people in the media who were lying about it, and politicians like the mayor of Seattle who were lying about it, look incredibly bad. And the Young Turks isn't going to do anything that would shine a light on the actual evils of the far left and themselves as a news organization, as they provide cover for this occupation that was destined to lead to the exact type of things that we ended up seeing this eventually lead to.
Lorenzo Anderson, who was 19, also died after being shot at the edge of the protest area in the early morning hours of June 20th. Again, I want to be clear, we don't know what led to that shooting. Lorenzo Anderson was shot at that border. He was shot one day after graduating high school, so it's a pretty devastating story.
Now, as if the playing dumb and not being able to assign blame to people that are on your side of the political spectrum wasn't bad enough, wasn't hypocritical enough, the Young Turks did find some people to blame for these shootings. And it's not the shooter, it's not the people in this zone, it's not the people who set up this zone, it's not the media outlets who provided cover and promoted this zone, it's none of those people. They blamed the paramedics for not getting to the people in this zone in time.
Medics argue that the reason why they didn't show up and help Lorenzo was because they had difficulty entering the CHOP zone in order to provide medical help. That's their statement. Protesters allege that medics didn't even attempt to help, and that members of this demonstration had to drive Lorenzo to the hospital themselves.
The medics, the fire department, and the police were definitely not responding to calls. There was another situation where someone else in the CHOP zone was in a medical emergency. They called and the fire department would not come and medics would not come. Now, they don't have to come inside. People can bring the person who is injured to outside the CHOP zone. No, they're not going on purpose as a ha, look at us. Without us, you're gonna die.
Wow, that's pretty scummy. I mean, the paramedics just let these people die just to teach them a lesson about how they need the police. Wow, that's shameful and horrible. Except for the fact that that's not what happened. The paramedics were trying to get into the area. They were held up by the CHOP police, the same exact undemocratically chosen police force that has been securing the area that was responsible for multiple instances of other violence. They were trying to actively get inside this zone, but they were being blocked off by the very rioters that the Young Turks are pretending did nothing wrong.
Also, I just want to note that in one of the shootings, there was a 33-year-old named Dewan Young, and he spoke to local news and said that he believes he was shot by right-wingers, either members of the Proud Boys or the KKK.
I don't see why he would have an agenda. And he's the one who got shot and almost killed. So you would think that he has a lot of motivation to get the right people and not the wrong people.
And now we have reached full lunacy when it comes to the Young Turks. It's bad enough that they ignored the fact that there's surveillance video of the event, that they're saying, nobody knows what happened here. How could anybody figure this out? But now they're perfectly comfortable all of a sudden speculating that some magical right-wingers showed up to this event and caused all the violence in the event. I mean, honestly, this is unbelievable. It's stunning. It's amazing. And I had to actually triple check after hearing this that the Young Turks were talking about the same exact event that I thought that they were talking about. And it turns out, not surprisingly, I was right and they're completely wrong. They think that right-wingers somehow showed up, did all the violence, and then disappeared without a trace. That's insane. And one of the people that they cite as their source, who has no reason to lie, no reason to put the blame on anyone else but himself, is one of the people who were wounded and survived.
I don't see why he would have an agenda.
Now, this person that was wounded and survived has every reason to lie. He has every reason to make up things that didn't happen. He has every reason to shift blame away from the riots that he was participating in, because this person is actively trying to sue the police for not responding quick enough to his riot and his autonomous zone nation, which was all about getting rid of the police. Don't believe me? Here's the video.
Yo, I was shot in Seattle at CHAZ on Friday. The cops left me out there to die. I need help with somebody in legal or media to get my story told and get it out there.
Now, as if this take wasn't insane enough, as if this wasn't crazy enough, as if this doesn't show the complete and utter lack of commitment to honesty at the Young Turks, specifically from Anna Kasparian, but also from Cenk Uygur, who has to add in his random, right-wingers did this, we should defund the police, but I don't mean defund the police like get rid of the police, I mean defund the police like some other way. Meanwhile, the people at CHOP definitely mean abolish the police, like replace them with nothing kind of thing. It actually gets worse, because I managed to stumble right after watching this video onto another Young Turks video where they talk about this supposedly coordinated effort of evil right-wingers attacking peaceful protesters, people just exercising their right to free speech with their cars. Now, full disclosure, if there are any of these instances where somebody is found to have intentionally done so, I condemn them fully. If they are on my side of the political spectrum, vaguely or even not vaguely, I condemn them fully. However, it's important to go over their coverage of this because you don't really get a lot of the we don't knows, I don't knows, we don't know anything, we can't figure out anything, this is just speculation when it comes to this story. Because when you can paint your political opponents as being the bad people, the people who are doing something, all of a sudden it's crystal clear, it's unambiguous. All you need is somebody vaguely left-wing getting hurt, and it's obviously a right-wing coordinated attack being pushed by the right-wing media.
Peaceful protesters are being run over by cars, and the fact that they're being targeted should be a massive story for everyone, but apparently it isn't. So in recent days, one person was killed in Seattle, and 2 people were injured in Bloomington, Indiana. Dozens of similar incidents have occurred across the United States. So we're talking about peaceful protesters and the violence that they're dealing with by people who disagree with their speech.
Now look, the video of the first guy, the Seattle guy, looks horrible. I'm not gonna show it to you. As I explained earlier in the video, YouTube terms of service, I don't wanna be anywhere near in violation of those terms of service because, they're cracking down on channels, they're deleting channels. But the video looks bad and I have no excuse for it. Whether it was intentional or not, that remains to be seen in the court. But what I find interesting about the Young Turks coverage of this is that this guy's name is out there. This guy's photo is out there. The suspect behind the incident that they are describing to you, which has a video attached to it that they're not showing you, has been found. This is what he looks like. Weird how they never show this guy's face. They just say right-winger in a car, even though we don't have any sense of his political motivation, without telling you his name or showing you his face. I can't figure out why the Young Turks aren't showing you his face. It's almost as if when they say right-wing, they're trying to put a certain image of a certain person in your mind of who it is, and this person conflicts with that. Almost like how the media was reporting this as a white luxury car attacking somebody to give you an image of the guy without actually showing you the guy that was behind the wheel of the car, the guy that they're condemning, the guy that they're saying is this right-wing extremist with no proof whatsoever. But the Young Turks doesn't just hold off on showing you this clearly identifiable information about this person at this part in the video. They also go over other instances of this supposedly happening across the country, including one that happened in Bloomington, Indiana.
On Monday night, a driver plowed into protesters in front of a courthouse in Bloomington, Indiana, before speeding away with 2 people desperately clinging to the roof of the car, causing them to fly off. I know, it's amazing. And
which I find really interesting because yet again, this is another instance of the Young Turks not showing you the video. They're not letting you see what they're condemning. They described it as somebody frantically jumping over a police barrier and then swinging into a crowd of protesters just viciously due to some right-wing motive. Meanwhile, they haven't caught the person that's supposedly this right-winger. But there is video of this. The video is out there. I'll link the full video in the description box. 2 people were injured in this, one person more severe than the other. But there's also video of just before this, and that is what I'm going to show you in this video.
Get out of the way, get out of the way. Hey, chill out, man.
Now you might be asking yourself, if you're not familiar with how the Young Turks consistently lies on their platform, where's the police barrier? How come the Young Turks didn't describe a scooter being laid down in front of that vehicle in order to block it? Did the people trying to block the car have anything to do, potentially, with the action that the driver of that car ended up taking? And the reason that the Young Turks aren't showing you any of this is because, contrary to what they want you to believe about an insane right-winger jumping a police barricade and just aiming for protesters because right-wing, that's not what happened, or that's not what appears to happen from the video. What appears to happen from the video, and it starts at the moment that the scooter is in front of the vehicle, is that the protesters laid down a scooter to illegally block this person from being able to drive on this road. The passenger of this car got out, removed the scooter, and then got back into this car. At that point, 2 protesters jumped on the hood of the car and on the side, and if you watch the full video where they're driving away, that's where you can see the protesters hanging onto the car. So this looks like a situation, just from the surface, it could be something different. If there is something different, I will actually come back and correct the record. But to me, it looks like a situation where people were being blocked in, they went to clear an obstruction in front of their car, angry rioters jumped on their car, and in a panic, trying to escape from these people after seeing thousands of videos of people in cars being attacked by rioters just like this, they hit the accelerator with no real intention to hurt anybody, but with the intention of getting away safely without they themselves being hurt. Now, again, that's just speculation. It happens to be more rooted in what's publicly available now than what the Young Turks are saying, but that's just speculation, and I will correct the record later if need be. Now, while I'll come back, and I will correct the record if I'm wrong, because you guys trust me to present to you accurate information, and we have enough mutual respect for you to expect me to have some level of honor and integrity in producing these videos for you, the Young Turks will probably never mention either one of these stories again. Unless, of course, there is some type of Trump-like connection to the driver in Indiana, then they'll cover it wall to wall. They'll try to make this the biggest national story humanly possible. But they're never going to talk about what happened at CHAZ. It's done. Forget the story. They already blame the medics and in tandem try to blame the cops, with the medics somehow. They put it out there that the kids might be at fault, the two young black boys that are age 14 and 16, one of which was killed by these rioters in CHAZ, and they also threw some shade that maybe some random right-winger somehow teleported in, committed all the violence, then teleported out without a trace. They have no honor. They have no respect. They have no respect for their audience. They have no respect for the victims or any of the victims' families in any of these instances. What the Young Turks looks at when they're in their meeting room earlier in the day and deciding which stories that they're going to butcher on their show is which ones fit our agenda. Which ones might we have to cover that don't fit our agenda, and how can we alter and augment those stories in order to better fit our agenda. That is their only objective. That is their only goal. That is shown clearly just by juxtaposing these two videos and the complete lopsided coverage on both of them. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Remember to go over to censor.tv and use promo code AIU if you want to see AIU and you want to support him. You get 20% off. Obviously, he's a friend of the channel, so I would appreciate it if you guys did that. As always, if you like this video or want to support me, hit the like button or go to the links in the description box that are my support links. But that's all I'm going to tell you guys today. Till next time.